Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio is the clerk of Dubois County, and that is Amy Kippenbrock. And Amy, we're going to talk again about election. We appreciate you coming in. You've been in before and you're going to be in again, just to encourage people to get out and vote, which is really important.
I agree. I think it is really important for everybody to get out and vote, and we have lots of options to allow that to happen.
Well, there really are no excuses not to vote. I guess there could be a few really good ones, but that shouldn't account for the fact that it seems like the majority of people sometimes don't vote.
Yeah.
And you should be voting. And we want our numbers to be high for voters.
Yeah, we have lots of options. So anybody that has any worries of how to cast their vote, I think we should have a solution for them.
Let's talk first of all about what's going on now, and that is the mail-in ballot.
Yeah, that's really a most popular conversation. We have, our process is pretty much the same as it has been for years. It's a two-step process. You have to fill out an application and then return that to the clerk's office. The deadline to return that application to the clerk's office is October 22nd. That's a hard deadline. We have to have your application in by October 22nd. That allows us to have the time to send you the ballot and then for you to return that ballot to us. So on the application, you can find that in a couple different places. You can find it at indianavoters.com. You can sign into their portal and you can submit it digitally, or you can print that piece of paper, fill it out, and mail it to us, whatever you're most comfortable with. Once we receive that, again, when you fill that out, check your reason for why you can't vote on Election Day. We do have to have a reason on there, and we need a signature at the bottom of that application. So that's really important. We compare that signature to your ballot signature later for the validity of the process. So that application, again, October 22nd, has to be returned to the clerk's office. We'll mail you the ballot. You fill out your ballot, choose your selections. At least one thing needs to be selected. Then you put your ballot card in the secrecy envelope and you have to sign your name on the outside of the envelope. The envelope has postage on it. You can just then drop it back in your post office or a blue box or at the post office. You can drop it off there and then the post office will bring it to us.
Could they also bring it to your office if they wanted to?
They can, especially as it gets closer to the end of closer to election time. You can drop it off at the clerk's office. There have been people that have used our treasurer's drop box. That's on the corner of the courthouse annex building. We are not supposed to be dropping ballots in that drop box. So just if you're going to bring it to the courthouse, just bring it into the clerk's office. But again, there is postage on that envelope. You don't have to put an extra stamp on it. It's already on there. So you can just drop it in the mailbox and send it back to us.
And do think ahead. Don't wait until November 2nd to mail that.
Right.
Because you need to have it by noon on November 3rd.
Right.
Okay? And there's a good chance that if you mail it on November 2nd, it's not going to get to you.
We have talked to the post office, especially all of them in Dubois County. We've partnered really well with them, and we've had communication back and forth. They have the resources available to them to work the workload. We have estimated numbers of how many people might vote by mail, and they are prepared for that workload. They've been doing a good job thus far. I wouldn't expect that to change. We've mailed out about 1,900 ballots as of right now, and we've already gotten about 800 of those back. So I feel like if you want to vote by mail, please go ahead and start that process. It'll work, and you just have to take your time and plan for that. If you do get to the last minute or you feel like it's going to be not enough time to submit that via mail, then you can drop it off to us.
And I have voted in every election except maybe one, and I don't remember why that was. It was a long time ago, but I'm pretty old, and I've voted that much. Every year I vote, whether I know anybody or not. But I've never voted by a paper absentee ballot. So what's it look like? What is it? Do I use a pen?
I think I've heard that a lot in some conversations. That's been new to people this year because of everything we're dealing with. It's a very simple process. Your ballot will come with instructions that kind of lay out everything you need to do. It is a Scantron card. Fill it in with pencil. If you have used a pen, it's okay. We can manage that. If you have filled it out by pen, you can go over it with pencil if you still have it. If you've sent it back to us, it's okay. It will work.
And number 2 pencil.
Number 2.
Just like being in grade school.
Yeah, it totally is just like being in school. It's a Scantron card. We run them through a machine. And
So there's like a little circle or a little square.
Yep.
I just fill that in.
Fill in the
Okay,
circle.
not a check. I
Not
should
a
fill
check.
that in. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, of course, if you're voting in person, you still can vote in what they call absentee, right?
Yes.
But in-person early voting, and that will run October 6th through Election Day.
Through the day before election for early, what we consider early in-person voting. So October 6th is when we start early voting in person at the courthouse annex. Again, the courthouse annex is just across the street from the courthouse. There will be signs outside. It's super easy to get in and out of that building. There's a conference room right inside the door, and that's where we have early voting. We've done that for a few years now, but sometimes we'll have people come into the courthouse because years ago, we did vote on the third floor in the courthouse, but it is no longer in the courthouse building. It is in the courthouse annex. Again, right across the street, easy to get in and out of that facility, and just a pretty quick process, really. It's the same as you would vote on Election Day. You're going to check in on the poll pad. The poll worker will help you get started on the machine. They'll activate your ballot, and then you'll cast your vote, and then you can walk out. It really, a couple minutes at the most.
And what we want to point out, this is a general election. So, and some people often get confused. Well, I don't want to have to declare Democrat or Republican.
Right.
No, you don't. You just vote any way you want.
You
this
vote.
Is, they won't, do they even ask? Are you even asked
No,
what party you're with?
we do not
Okay.
ask any registered voter about party affiliation in a general election, only in a primary. And, some people think that they're registered to a party, and you are not. You are just a registered voter. You do not have to declare your party affiliation on your voter registration. So you'll just come in, you'll check in as a registered voter. The only thing that's important to the poll workers is what your precinct is. So where do you live? So they'll activate the correct ballot on that machine, and then you can choose your selections. There's lots of options on your ballot in Dubois County. We have federal offices, we have state offices, we have county offices, we have nonpartisan school board offices that people can vote on, and then there are also some state judge retention questions also on our ballots. So lots of things to review and think about. If you want to know who's on your ballot, you can go to indianavoters.com. You can look up who's on your ballot there, or you can go to duboiscounty.in.org, and you can look at sample ballots on our county website.
If I vote, early vote, in person, which is really the same as voting Election Day at your precinct, what do I need to bring?
You need to bring your photo ID.
Okay,
Bring your photo ID, your driver's license or an ID card. Most people have those. If not, the license branch is open longer on Election Day, so you can receive that and be able to go in and vote.
So if I don't have a driver's license, and I'm still the age that I am, maybe I've never had a driver's license, but I don't have a photo ID because I've got none of that. I can go to the license branch and get a photo ID that just says, this is who he is.
Yeah. They have ID cards or identification cards. It looks similar to a driver's license. I would encourage you to reach out. If you need to do that, I would encourage you to reach out and start that process as early as possible. Most of us have been exposed to what it takes to get a driver's license these days, and you have to take in a few pieces of documentation to prove who you are to get that piece of identification. But the BMV is willing to, and they're open and prepared for that workload as well.
And if I am voting in-person early voting at the courthouse, but say I live in Ferdinand, I can still do that because you'll bring up my precinct, which would have the school referendum on it. And it will have my district or people that are running in there. So I can vote, if I live in Ferdinand, in Jasper early voting. But on Election Day, I would go to my precinct in Ferdinand and vote. Yep,
that's a really good point, because some people get confused by that. Early voting, any registered voter can go to any location. So we have lots of early voting options as we progress through the month of October. We start at the courthouse annex on the 6th of October, but come the 24th of October, that's a Saturday, we start to have several other options. You can vote in Ferdinand, Huntingburg, Dubois. You can vote at the 35th Street Fire Station in Jasper. Then we also have a roaming satellite board. We've done this for a number of years. We vote in St. Henry, Hayesville, Schnellville, Dubois, and Birdseye the week before the election. So there's a team of people that will go to a different location every day. So people throughout the county have lots of options to early vote. I think early voting is really a convenience factor. So if I work somewhere and I live somewhere else, maybe I have a few minutes over my lunch break. I can just run and vote. If I want to go mid-morning and maybe I ran to the grocery store and I have a few minutes afterwards, I can stop by the courthouse annex and take care of that. It's about convenience and what works best for the voter. If you choose to vote on election day, that is not always the case. You have to go vote in your precinct-specific location. So wherever you live, you'll be tied to a little bit closer to home, if you will, for your precinct voting location.
Are you finding people are voting early now because it's so convenient? It is crazy and convenient. I mean, crazy convenient.
Dubois County is one of the counties that lead the state in early voting numbers, or they have in the past. We have several options for people to get out and vote. So I think people are finding that they can get out and vote. People are still learning that that's even an option. So you can get out and vote, and I think people are taking advantage of what works for them and their schedules.
So if they do have any questions whatsoever, they're not sure if their photo ID is right, or they're not sure where they vote, or what the hours are, blah, 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 can they call your office?
You sure can. You sure can. Our number is 812-481-7035. That'll get you to the clerk's office. If for some reason we don't know the answer to your question, we will find it or we'll point you to the right direction. I think it's really important for people to get out and vote, and we have lots of options in Dubois County. Something else I would like to mention before I go is poll workers. If you have any interest in being a poll worker, we still have some opening spots. So if you're interested in learning more about that, or maybe just being on a backup list, feel free to give me a call at the clerk's office, 812-481-7035. Just call me and we'll talk more about what that requires and what options you have.
And remember, please vote, whether you vote by mail, early person absentee voting, or on election day. And you can go in and just vote for one thing, one person. Yep. Maybe in Ferdinand, you really don't want to vote for any of the people who are running for office, but that referendum's important to you. Then go in and vote just for that. Or it's easy to vote for however you want to vote. Just make sure you do that.
You know, if you want to do a little research before you go vote, you can look at sample ballots. You can go to indianavoters.com. You can go to DuboisCountyIN.org and look for your sample ballot, look for who's on your ballot and who your options are. Sometimes we want to do a little research on those candidates and we want to know what's happening before we get there.
All right. Amy, thank you very much. We look forward to you coming back again.
I appreciate it.
Please make sure that you vote one way or the other. Thank you for watching 18 WJTS. Our guest has been Amy Kippenbrock. She is the clerk of Dubois County. Much of what she said also applies to other counties as well, as they all kind of run the same. And that application, not the ballot, the application deadline is October 22nd.
Correct.
That's for all counties.
Yes.
Period.
That's a statewide deadline.
All right. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching 18 WJTS. We're local people watching local people.